Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hello Word, the podcast where we explore the fascinating world of English vocabulary. I'm your host, Alex, and today we're tackling a word that often pops up in political discussions and historical contexts: communist. So, what exactly does communist mean? At its core, it's an adjective relating to communism, a political and economic ideology advocating a classless society in which all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs. In simpler terms, when we say something is communist, we're describing its connection to this specific system of thought or its associated parties and governments. You might hear about a communist country, a communist party, or even communist ideals. It's important to remember that the word carries a lot of historical and political baggage, so it's crucial to understand its meaning and context before using it. Now, let's look at some words that share a similar meaning, synonyms if you will. While there aren't perfect synonyms, we can use words like Marxist, socialist, and collectivist to describe things that align with similar ideologies. For example, instead of saying the country had a communist government, you could say the country had a Marxist government, though this may be more specific. Or, the organization promoted socialist policies, which indicates a focus on social ownership and control. You might also hear they advocated for a collectivist approach to resource management, highlighting the communal aspect often associated with communism. Remember, while these words share some similarities, they aren't interchangeable. Marxist refers specifically to the theories of Karl Marx. Socialist covers a broader range of ideologies advocating for social ownership, and collectivist emphasizes the importance of the group over the individual. Now, let's flip the coin and look at antonyms, words with the opposite meaning. Some antonyms for communist could be capitalist, individualist, and free market. A capitalist system, for instance, prioritizes private ownership and free markets, directly contrasting with a communist emphasis on public ownership. We could say, the nation transitioned from a communist economy to a capitalist one. Similarly, an individualist philosophy stresses the importance of individual rights and freedoms, standing in contrast to the communist focus on collective goals. For example, her views were distinctly individualist, opposing the communist ideal of collective ownership. Finally, a free market economy operates with minimal government intervention, again, a polar opposite of the centrally planned economies often associated with communist states. You might hear someone say he was a strong advocate for a free market, arguing against communist economic policies. So, how can you use communist in everyday conversations? Well, while it's not a word you'll likely use in casual chit-chat every day, it might come up when discussing history, politics, or current events. For instance, you might say, my history professor specializes in the study of communist regimes. Or, the politician's views were often criticized as being too communist-leaning. You could also encounter it in phrases like anti-communist propaganda or the legacy of the communist era. Here are a few more usage examples to help solidify your understanding. The museum had an exhibit on the art produced during the communist period. He debated the merits and demerits of a communist system with his colleague. The overthrow of the communist government marked a significant turning point in the country's history. She studied the rise and fall of various communist movements around the world. The economic policies of the communist regime led to widespread shortages. The novel explores the themes of alienation and oppression under a communist dictatorship. The film portrayed the lives of ordinary citizens living in a communist state. The academic argued that certain aspects of communist theory were still relevant in the 21st century. The debate focused on whether a communist society could ever truly be achieved. Many people fled the country after the communist revolution. So, to recap, communist is an adjective relating to communism, an ideology advocating for a classless society with public ownership. Synonyms include Marxist, socialist, and collectivist, while antonyms include capitalist, individualist, and free market. The word is typically used in discussions about politics, history, and economics, and it's important to be aware of its connotations. That brings us to the end of today's episode. I hope you found this exploration of the word communist helpful and informative. If you enjoyed this episode of Hello Word, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your support helps others discover the show and learn new English vocabulary. And now, for your homework, I encourage you to create your own sentence using the word communist and share it as a comment under the video. I look forward to reading your creative examples. Until next time, keep learning and keep exploring the wonderful world of words.
Goodbye.